Guys, I'm telling you, this is endgame. This is the setup. If you like using tanks and putting up good damage, you're gonna love this build. What is going on, everybody? I'm super excited to show you the revamped version of the tank build that I just put together. We originally were using Overdogs, and we are leveraging a different exotic here to make it even stronger. I actually couldn't believe that this worked, and I'll explain to you why in the video. So let's get right into it, and I'm just gonna go right into showing you the pieces. Let's take a look. Alright, y'all, so this is the original build. Don't get confused now. I've already shown you gameplay and the build guide for this one. And I want to show you the logic here in terms of what's going on and how we got to the new version that we're about to dive into. So right away, the structure is going to be pretty much the same in terms of our primaries and our skills. It's a tank build. We're using the Bulwark. We're using the Artificer, leveraging the Tempest so that we can use Obliterate, and it also just makes your life a lot easier. I've been really loving the Tempest. Primary, secondary, going to be the same. Now, the structure of the gear. We're using Foundry, okay? We're trying to maintain the tankiness of our shield, right? And the Artificer. Guys, skill repair is super important. You need to be making sure that you're putting skill repair into your setup. That's going to be with skill tiers that we have here. You can see I re-rolled this, and then repair skills on mods. The way they multiply, was the best way to do it on this setup. So this is where it's going to get interesting. Now, I didn't think we'd be able to outpace it because of Overdogs. Overdogs, when at least you're in that right target where you're getting this damage, is 35% amp damage. That's a lot. That's a lot of damage. So trying to beat that out, I tried quite a few different exotics like I talk about in the build guide. So make sure you check that out if you want some more interesting variations. I've used this for Overdogs in the glove slot. You could also try Exodus if you want something a little more tanky, or you can use more damage and help your team out with Coyote's Mask or Catharsis. I discuss a lot of those options in that video. Let's take a look at the new version. Alright, y'all, now I showed it off quickly in that gameplay I dropped, but this is what it looks like, and let's get into it. Now, you can see there's a really big change here, and that's in the Ninja Bike backpack. So I'll tell you what, let's talk about it right away. Using Ninja Bike backpack, there's pros and cons here in terms of general building, and this is why you really have to test it out to see how it works. As far as rules of thumb goes, like I talk about in my Exotics Masterclass, this is basically the worst use case for using Ninja Bike. It doesn't make any sense at all. Typically, you would want to get the most brand bonuses that you're unlocking through Ninja Bike, right? Here, we're just getting the 4-piece Foundry and then the 1 extra piece of Imminence. So we're only getting 2 brand bonuses, and we're trading our whole exotic and our whole backpack slot for that. Typically, the most powerful builds with Ninja Bike will be unlocking something that you couldn't do before, or spreading out a lot of the brand bonuses. If you were running 1 piece, for example, everywhere else, you'll be getting 5 brand bonuses, which could be a lot more powerful. Here, we're only getting 2. But what's happening is that first use case of unlocking something that you couldn't before. It's impossible to run Foundry and 3-piece Imminence without Ninja Bike. You just don't have the room. You can't fit the 4-piece gear set and the 3-piece Imminence. We only have 6 slots, of course. So that's what's happening here. And the 60% pistol damage, it's just too strong. It really is. The 60% pistol damage is just too good that even though we're only getting the 2 bonuses, we're literally just using this so that we can use Foundry and get that 3-piece, 60% pistol damage, and it's enough. It's actually out-damaging the setup with the Overdogs in the right range. So Overdogs at its peak is doing less damage than we're doing all the time with this setup. And that's absolutely crazy. So the big thing here, right, is we're swapping out, we're getting the 3-piece with Imminence, and we're actually taking advantage of the other brand bonuses as well. That's quite nice. You know, the 5% weapon damage is just 5% weapon damage. And that will apply to the SMG as well, like you see that I have been really enjoying using to start some engagements. And then, of course, increased threat actually makes a lot of sense for the tank build. Like, this is the ideal use case for this, is to have the increased threat. You're doing your job as a tank. And you can see here, I'm purposely not running the Cloak. I think I have another pair here. Yeah. So one of the options here is you could run Cloak, but I really recommend you don't do that. Like, you really shouldn't do that. Your purpose on the team as a tank is to be taking that aggro, so we want that 100% increased threat and not this one. We're also going to be, of course, losing damage because we're trading off a roll here for reduced threat. Whereas this one, you will have to farm for it to make it blue. It'll be a little tougher, but you want crit chance and crit damage. And then, of course, we're keeping the chest with Obliterate. We're just swapping it over to the Imminence chest. Now you could, if you want to be tankier, go for a blue version. So you'll have to get one that comes with Obliterate, crit chance, crit damage, and then re-roll it to blue. We don't need to. We still have 4 blues here in total, and then this is helping us get that more damage. I think this is tanky enough, but if you want to be even more tanky, we are getting quite a bit damage. You could roll this blue as well, and you'll be getting even more armor. But of course, we don't need it because we're tier 6. Now going back to Ninja Bike, the other benefit here that we're getting is the cores. And that's why Memento was such a great pick on my original setup. And I still think that it's great, but the members of the community voted on not having Memento in the setup. If you want to influence my builds in the future, support me by joining the channel at an Oracle tier. We have posts and polls that'll help you influence the build choices. And it was decided that we're not using Memento, and that's how I came across this, and I'm super happy about that. So they both have the same advantage with the cores. We're getting weapon damage, armor, and skill tier. So it's giving us some damage, of course, at base. But what's really powerful is we're getting 2 tiers for the shield right away, because that's scaling with skill tier and armor. And then the skill tier is also really important because you got to remember here that you want to get that skill repair. We're showing off here the 2 different ways to get that skill repair up. In this build, we're not running any repair skills, whereas the other one we were, but we were a lower skill tier. So you can see here that we're skill tier 3 with no extra repair skills, and we have 48% skill repair. On the other setup, we were skill tier 2, but had 2 rolls of repair skills, and that was bringing us to the exact same of 48% skill repair. So in terms of comparing the 2 builds here, this is the Overdogs one. We have 4 blues. We have 48% skill repair. This one also has 4 blues and 48% skill repair. When it comes down to that, it's really then just about damage. And that's how I was testing it. The signs I was looking for was, okay, is our shield health the same? Is the skill repair the same? And then after that, it really just comes down to damage because we're using Foundry for both. And this just does more damage, which is really crazy. So we're getting this damage all the time, and it's super strong. And we're maintaining that tankiness because of the cores that we're getting with Ninja Bike. And then the 3-piece Imminence is just compensating for the damage that we were otherwise lacking. Now, there is one caveat that we're not talking about here, is that we are not running the Foundry backpack. So with all things the same, otherwise, in terms of skill repair, shield health, and then into the higher damage, we are losing the extra repair from the Foundry backpack, which is doubling our repair rate, which is quite strong, but it's not making our shield tankier. It will regen our health faster. It is nice, but with the overall setup, I didn't feel like I was missing it. I felt very much tanky enough. We're still getting lots of repair from Foundry, and then I wanted the more damage. That was the route I'm going. And keep in mind here, I'm talking about Legendary. So I'm playing with this in Legendary, in group. You could use it solo. It's putting in the work, for sure, and it's quite tanky. One of the variations you could make, if you still want to be tankier, is you could swap out the chest for the Foundry chest. So the Foundry chest essentially does the same thing. Instead of reducing the time, it increases the repair amount, ultimately doing the same thing in terms of our rate of repairs per second. You could run the Foundry chest. It is quite nice. My original Memento setup did use it because I didn't feel like I needed more damage. You could swap that out and then run another piece of Imminence. That's totally your choice, but this is essentially the structure that you're going for. And because we're not running Cloak, remember, you can put your Imminence pieces wherever you want, whatever farms easy. The other thing to note here, the one core that we're changing, like on the other setup, we need a skill tier. And here I'm putting it on this one. It could be anywhere, but that extra roll into skill tier is still keeping us at 4 blues, and that is what's making us into 48% skill repair. I tested a lot of different versions of this, with, okay, is it worth running a red here and then putting skill repair rolls and a lot of different comparisons. This is the best. It ends up doing the most damage. I'll see if I can find my old spreadsheet and throw it up on the screen. Alright, y'all, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Bit of a quicker build guide today because it's a variation of a variation. We've resurrected the tank DPS for Legendary. This is the setup that I'm going to be using. I'm getting rid of the Overdogs one. It's quite nice. Use it if you want to, or maybe try some different exotics because that one's a little more flexible. But in terms of general play in Legendary, this is the tank build I'm going to be keeping, and it is a beast. I'm loving it. Till the next one, enjoy, y'all. I'll see you.